Crew shortages are upsetting some passengers, but what we experienced last night in the dining room appalled everyone. Hey everyone, what's up? My name is Jordan.
And I'm Jared.
And this is
JJ Cruise.
Thank you so much for watching the video today and tuning in for this story that is pretty intense and pretty actually terrible.
Yes, very terrible. And honestly, we are wanting your help with this because we don't know what to do. But before we get to this, please subscribe to the channel. We would love to hit 30K here as soon as possible, and you can be a part of the first 30K, and it's free for you to do.
And don't forget to hit that like button. The like button does tell YouTube that you like what you see. And if you like myself and Jared, then give us a thumbs up.
Yes.
So before we get into the story, we want to just give a little bit of a recap about what's happening on cruise ships in 2022. Now, if you're following the channel, you know that we are on a cruise to Greenland and Iceland for 24 nights. It's been a phenomenal cruise. Last night we got to see the Northern Lights, which...
breathtaking.
Absolutely.
Stunning.
Breathtaking. However, this cruise is one of the highest capacity sailings that we have been on, and the ship is pretty much sold out.
The question is, are cruise lines ready to take on full capacity sailings like the one we're on right now? There are a few things to note though. Of course, COVID hasn't gone away. We are still dealing with COVID cases on board. Every cruise ship that we've been on since the cruise restart is not a rare anomaly. Also, the crew come from different parts of the world. Every single country has its own set of rules and regulations in terms of visas allowing their people out of the country to go and work. So the cruise lines are in the midst of still, after 18 months, moving a lot of pieces to get all of their crew back on their ships. And they definitely have not been successful at doing so yet. We even know of some crew that have to find other jobs and are working another job even though they love cruising so much and working on cruise ships. So there's a lot of things that are leading up to this crew shortage.
On the sailing that we are currently on, even though the ship is 100% full, the staff is nowhere near full. Now on top of that, the staff gets tested every single week for COVID, and we know that there is COVID on board, and we believe that there's probably COVID on board with the crew as well. So the crew members are sometimes fulfilling 2, 3, even 4 people's jobs months and months and months on end without any type of leave.
For our specific sailing, just to give you an idea, this is one of the first 2 high capacity sailings. Before our 2 sailings, they were more around that 50 or 60% of full capacity. And so that really leads to a pretty quick change in the amount of performance that one crew member has to do.
Now, why are we telling you this? We're telling you this to just kind of set the expectation up for this story, that service isn't necessarily at the same level that it has been in the past, but it is not because any particular person is lacking in what they're doing. It's because they suddenly have found themselves with double the staterooms to clean or triple the tables at dinner to serve than what they had before. This is a very, very important detail that I think you need to understand if you're cruising here in the second half of 2022.
And this is happening across all cruise lines. We have cruised multiple cruise lines this year and have been since the cruise restart. And we know that this is not exclusive to the cruise line we're on right now.
So if you're cruising anytime soon, the key is pack your patience. We are not the only vloggers that have said this. A lot of other vloggers have come on and said, if you're getting on a cruise line, you need to understand that there are shortages right now. And this goes across a lot of different industries, not just the cruise line. There's a cruise shortage on airplanes. There's a shortage in a lot of different industries. So really, it's just a time to be patient.
Yes. This leads us to what is happening on board our current cruise ship, and that is the fact that we did have an unfortunate situation last night at dinner in the Blue restaurant.
Now we are in an Aqua class room, which means Blue is a specialty dining room specifically for our class of ship. It's more healthy eating, lean cuisine. Actually, it is one of our favorite restaurants at sea. So the fact that we're eating in this restaurant for 24 nights in a row, we're really, really happy about it. But last night we went to dinner. It was just Jared and myself. We got seated and we started to look at the menu, and all of a sudden we heard something, and it wasn't something quiet.
Now, just to give this in perspective, this was only maybe 10 minutes after they started seating people. So this was not something long-term. This was not an hour after seating. This was right after everyone has been seated. And right after we had been seated at our table, we heard a man yell at the top of his lungs at a crew member.
And when we say yell at the top of his lungs, it was full on screaming. This was coming from a table that was probably about 25 feet away from us. There was maybe 3 or 4 other tables in between ours and theirs. And there was an issue apparently with the type of wine that was brought to him. Now in this restaurant, there are drink servers and then there are sommeliers. This was a drink server at his table. He looked at the guy and screamed. Screamed isn't even the right word, because it was a type of scream that I don't think I have actually heard in a long time.
It's like a guttural yell, like just from the loins of anger and madness and so frustrated. It's hard to explain, but every single person in the restaurant, which seats probably what, a good 200 people, could hear what this man had to say.
So like we said, there was an issue with his drink. He said, "Not that wine. Are you an effing idiot?" And screamed it.
Of course, this was so shocking to everyone around. So shocking that everyone was just like not thinking this was real. They could not believe that what they just heard was this guy completely humiliating and offending a crew member because he brought the wrong wine to his table. He claimed that it had taken at least 30 minutes to get this wine, and now it was wrong, and it was such a horrible job of service done. Remind you, we had only been in there for 10 minutes.
Now the whole entire restaurant went quiet. I could actually see this couple from where I was sitting. Jared had his back to that table. He immediately turned to the table next to them. These people were not with them, and started to explain why he had done what he had done. Now that man at the other table turned his entire chair around to face the opposite direction from this guy that had just yelled at this crew. It was probably a good 2 to 3 minutes before people really started talking again, because the restaurant was totally silent. Jared even kind of made a joke. He was like waiting for film crews to come in from that TV show, What Would You Do?
Yeah, I was like, where's John Quinones? Because I feel like we're being completely punked, or there's someone coming out here to ask what would we do. And that is actually what we felt the whole time. What should we do in that situation? Because in a situation like this man is an elderly man, and the fact of him being an elder of us, we've always been taught and raised to respect your elders, and even when someone that is older than you does something wrong, you have to give patience, and you have to know that they have had a lot of life experience, and you have to let some things go, even if they aren't your cup of tea.
But on the flip side, I've never heard someone speak so hateful to another person, and everything within both Jared and I wanted to jump up and run to that table and basically tell that guy that he needed to shut his mouth, and that he needed to treat other people with respect. Now, here's the complexity of doing something like that on the cruise ship. On cruise ships, you have to be very careful with who you approach and confront, because you never know who's going to come back at you with, well, violence or, you know, more yelling. And I believe what the crew wanted was to diffuse that situation as fast as possible and move on with the evening.
And the crew expedited everything for them. They tried, they got the sommelier over there, they got the maitre d' over there. They did everything as fast as possible to try to appease this man, which, to be fair, I think was very generous of them after what he had portrayed to them. But
I can't believe he didn't get kicked out of the restaurant.
Oh, no,
honestly.
I can't either. But it shows just how amazing the crew are at their job in diffusing situations like this, trying to make sure that they are providing the best service possible. But remind you, there are kids in Blue. This is not adults only. This is not adults only sailing or adults only inside of Blue. There are kids that are listening to the obscenities that he is saying and the anger and true just vengeance against people that don't deserve it.
So we continued to talk about this all night, just between the two of us. I told Jared, I was like, I really want to, talk to the food and beverage manager on board. and ask them if this guy can just be removed from the restaurant for the rest of the sailing. But we also, again, know that that could add a lot of complexities to the situation. And at the end of the day, Jared and I want to do absolutely nothing that would hurt or harm or make it more difficult for anyone that is working on board.
So we ask you, and please put it in the comments below, what would you do in this scenario? Is there things that we are missing here? Of course, we already talked about the fact that this man is an older man. We want to respect our elders here, but do we have a right in this situation to tell this man, hey, that is not cool. That is not something that you should be doing to the crew. They're working really hard, and no one here wants to hear you yell at them. That is very rude to the rest of the passengers, let alone to the crew member you're talking to. Or is there something we should be doing with the crew directly? Is there someone we should be talking to see if they can have a watch on this man, to see if he's doing this to other crew members? Our worst nightmare is having this be done on the daily to a crew member everywhere.
We absolutely love and adore the crew, and we not just believe, we know that the right thing to do is to treat the crew with the utmost respect and love, because they are working so hard and they're doing everything within their power humanly possible to make your cruise an unforgettable one. So this video was actually born out of just the conversation that Jared and I have been having pretty much nonstop the last 18 hours. So please let us know in the comments what you think we should do, because we're still on this sailing for 9 more nights. And we're happy to speak up if the general consensus thinks that we should.
So please help us out. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button and the like button. And until next time,
See ya.
Change